Hello and welcome to the wonderful world of Seven Knights 2. I'm your host Alexander Drago. Now, Seven Knights is a mobile platform game with character and equipment collecting features and an amazing storyline in which you really get a good sense of each character you come across. As of right now, there are 46 characters to choose from, and of those there are 5 common units, which are usually the ones you'll meet in story, the ones you'll start off with. Not the best, but they'll bring you through a few of the episodes. You'll have 8 uncommon characters, which all have unique passives to help you through certain boss fights and certain mechanics in the game. There are 20 rare champions, which are blue, and it's where you'll spend most of your time leveling and collecting shards for, as they're probably the best use for time consumption to effectiveness, basically. And then, of course, you'll have the 13 legendary units, as our beautiful Rudy there, and they are the cream of the crop. They'll all have different abilities that will help you along the way. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, as a start menu, you'll have everything you ever need here. You'll always load into story mode here, so no matter where you are in story mode, where you've left it, as long as you've got this checkpoint stone, which looks beautiful like here, you'll always load up to where you were last. So don't worry about going, oh no, I've been halfway through a fight, or oh no, that's got a bit wrong. You'll always respawn at the nearest stone. Now, once you get through the tutorial, it will always teach you how to set teams and how to build your teams, which is great. It's a great start when you do it, but there's also more in depth. Obviously, it will show you how to set your 4 teams, but there's also, you've got pets which you can summon. They're great. They give you a little stat boost, like for Valdor. He gives attack, HP, and defense, and a little bit extra ignore, defense piercing, along with some better things for raids. His active ability gives me HP heal and an immunity to damage, which is great. But not all of you get that. Sometimes you get the lesser ones, but they're still good to have on your team. Now, formations is really important. You'll start off with basic. As you can see, I'm already on defensive level 5. It's how I prefer to do things. But you'll start off with basic, and essentially, it's okay, but you'll want to buy other ones like I have here. They cost a little bit, but they're definitely worth it. 100,000 seems a lot to begin with, but you'll be fine. Just choose the one that's best for you and then begin upgrading it. Upgrading requires resources, which are books and some gold, but I swear by it that you will need to upgrade your formation. The difference between a level 4 and a level 5 formation is a difference between victory and defeat. But don't worry, the materials you need to get books are quite easy to get, and we'll get to those later. Now, there are 4 types of units. There's the healer, which is my lovely Karen here, which is green. You have the DPS, which is my Shane, which is red, as you can see here. Now, there's a tank that's blue. You know, they're fairly explanatory. Heals, DPS, tank. But then there's also these purple units, which are universal. Now, universals are a very strange character setting because they can be a mixture of different roles depending on their skills. Like, for example, Spike here, he is a DPS crowd control hybrid. He has high damage values, but also he has a freezing ability, which is great for area crowd control and just locking out opponents. So, also, side note for you all here as well, most bosses are immune to most crowd controls, so if you think Ice Tyrant Spike is just going to breeze you through it, it's not going to happen. He's still really good, he's quite bulky. So now that we've got all this set out, we've got formations, we've got characters, let's move on to the gear. Which you have for helmets, you have, you know, we'll go into the codex and show you. So we'll go into equipment. So you've got the basics, that are the general rareness, you've got the uncommons, which you usually get from earlier game, and then you move on to rare items, which is where you'll start really collecting things and boosting them. There are legendaries, but honestly, you'll collect them very, very slowly. You'll build them very, very slowly, and you either have to be really lucky in your pulls or buy from the shop later, and we'll get to that later. So, essentially, there are around about 8 sets in the game, each having their own set multiplier for 2 sets, 5 and 3 sets of the same equipment in your head, your sword, your body, your legs, and your gloves. It will give you a bonus to your equipment. So you can see on this one, this first one has block rate. Now, block rate, I feel is amazing. It's great for a tank. Essentially, when you block, you will mitigate a certain amount of damage through it. From what I've seen, it's around about 30 to 50%. You can increase that, but not with the gear we have right now. There is a legendary tank called Rudy that also increases your block rate, so you're getting around about 50 to 80% block rate each attack, which is phenomenal. There was also an accessory for this that will also increase your defense, which is why I think this is best in slot for any tank if you get the accessories with it. It's represented by the little shield with a lightning bolt. Very, very good, very strong for tanks. Now, the next one is the other tank version, which is the defensive set. It's great for your early game tanks and anyone that's a bit too squishy for you. It increases your defense. It just makes your overall survivability a lot better, and it's just the basic shield representation that you see in most games. Next is the Queen's Eternal Maiden. Now, this one's an interesting one. It is one of the best sets for healers and shielders, because in this game, your healers, your supports, and your shielders all stack from max HP pool. So the more HP you have, the better heals you have, the better shields you have, unless it's a tank, at which point it scales off defense. So always good, represented by a little heart, you know, HP heart, it's great. Up next is the Destroyer's Gatekeeper. Now this one I love, I'm testing out right now, and I'm loving to bits. It's pushing me through arena. It increases crit rate. Now, crit rate is so undervalued in this game, it's insane. You have characters that can also increase crit rate, so you're looking at around about 50% of the time attacking quickly. Now, if you're critting half the time and you've got an attack character that's very quick, like Claire or Shane, who are very, very fast attackers, you will see this crit rate and damage just spike exponentially. It's represented by the spiked arrow. It's great. I love it on DPS, especially fast attackers. Now, the next one is actually the other part of the DPS unit, which is the basic attack percentage increase. Now, this again is great for your basic early game attackers. Your DPS will love it, especially if you get a good set for it. Amazing. Not the best if you can build the crit damage set because of the accessory that comes with it, but we'll talk about that a bit later. Next up is the Cooldown Set, which I love to pieces. This one I've tried using on a few healers before. Essentially it decreases all your skill cooldowns, so you can heal quicker, or your user abilities quicker. I have tried it on a support character and a DPS character. It seems better on support. Represented by the time hourglass, because, you know, universal and all that. The next one is another one for DPS. Now, this one is a very special one. This is literally dubbed the Tank Buster, because it just is defense piercing. It ignores defense and essentially will just go straight through tanks. There is a certain character in the game called, I can't actually remember what name it is. She's a legendary that you get later on quite easily. And she will burn through block rates, she will burn through defenses. You put this on her, I guarantee you will kill a tank in 10 seconds flat. It is insane. Represented by an arrow pointing through a target, because obviously we're just piercing through armor. As we said, we've got the defense one. We've got two defenses here, or am I just losing my mind, chat? So we've got defense here. Have we got defense twice? Is the blue demon twice? Blue demon's epilogues is again twice. Interesting, chat. So, we'll go on to this next one instead, which is the increase all skills. Now, this one is perfect for your debuffers and your CCers. Increasing all skill levels by 3 is so good, because all your debuffs and all your crowd control scale exponentially through skill levels. Each skill level, or every 2 skill levels, has the potential to increase the proc rate of all the debuffs all the way it sticks. I put this on Spike. He's freezing enemies in campaign, he's freezing enemies in PvP. It is absolutely amazing. I can't DD again, so we're just going to skip you. I think they've got a bit of glitch there. And I do believe that's all of them, chat. Yes, all of them. Then we've got the Legendaries, which is fine. You know, it's the usual stuff. Just better attributes. Legendaries over rares, you'll see the rares attributes only have 2 stats, the legendaries have 3 and an increased stat rate, along with the basic stats and more. So, more stats on the legendaries, harder to build, and it gets a bit painful. Now, next up is the accessories. Now, you have 3 sets of accessories. Yes, I know there are 4, but we're going to get to the belt later because it's a special item. Of the 3 accessories, you have earrings, necklaces, and rings, which we'll just go to now. As you can see, you also have the basic, the uncommon, and the rare. I won't go into the legendary too deeply, simply because All the legendaries have unique abilities that are not the same as the other two rarities. They may have slightly samely, but not exactly the same. For example, the legendary here has increased damage dealt to enemies by 20%, but also decreases damage. So it's a bit of a weird one. Now, so we'll start off with, right at the top here, we will start off with one of the 6 unique effects, which is great. Well, I would say great. It's good for supports and healers. Essentially, when you use a healing skill, you have a 50% chance to reduce the cooldown of all your skills by 20%. It's nice, it's really good, especially when you've got a fast healer that just wants to keep healing, keep shielding. Amazing for it, definitely a good choice. The next one, and of course it's represented by the little time turner, it's great. Now the next one is the reason why I think blocking is better than defense on the armor set. Now this is because the Gatekeeper's necklace and accessory set increases your defense by 20% for 5 seconds after a successful block. Now again, if you're blocking 80% of the time, you're pretty much getting that 20% increase constantly. It will keep refreshing the block timer, so you'll always have the 5 seconds up. Represented by the shield, so don't be fooled when you're looking for equipment to try and keep them the same. They're all different on the signage. So next up is the Blue Demon's Ring. Again, this is why I'm trying to build a crit team, because again, increase attack by up to 20% for 5 seconds upon a crit. The more you crit, the more you have the 20% up, which is still better than the 14% on the armor. It's harder to build because you need them all in, but thankfully all the blue and legendary, well, all the equipment you see, you can actually craft. Represented by the lovely sword and claw mark. Now, this next one is just a staple for most healers if you're ever going to do it. Increase given recovery rate by 20%. Any heal you give will increase by 20%. Now, I'm going to put this in perspective. This is the difference between healing your tank to between 3/4 of its HP and full HP, whereas your tank's using about 20k HP. That's a big chunk. That is enough between winning and losing a fight. Again, by the lovely hand holding the universal health sign. I'd put this on every healer if I could. Next up is the Lambeth Blessing, which is, it's not the best, but it's still a nice defensive set. Decreases damage received from enemies by 10%. Now, I wouldn't put this on tanks unless it's an off-tank. I still believe the block is better, but any character that needs a bit more survivability, this is a dead set to put on. I have it on a character called Shay, because she's a lovely support, and she'll be in a guide later that I'm doing. Essentially, very, very strong, and will keep your character alive a little bit longer. Next up is the other DPS set, which is the Invaders Earrings. Increases damage dealt by 20%. Now, this feels a lot more than 20%, believe me, when you look at the damage calculations. I'm not sure how it goes, but I'm guaranteeing it's more than 20%. Great for the alternative to crit if you're using the plus attack armor. Really, really nice. It may even fit with the skill up armor, because you're still doing extra damage. Represented by the two sword, well, the small swords and the large sword. Very, very nice. And as I said, the legendary equipment is a bit flippant. They'll have different abilities. So like if we choose this one, this is the damage decreased by 10%. This one still has damage decrease. Well, it doesn't. It has damage decreased by enemies in the field, but increases damage. And again with, let's go with the imbued power. Completely different. All stays effect. That one's a very nice one if you can get it. But that's kind of end game, so we're not going to get into this guide. This is supposed to be beginner, so we'll stick to it. So now that we've covered the gear, let's get into the actual leveling and building our characters, shall we? So coming up to the level up, you will see that my Rudy is currently 40 out of 40. Now I've built him up and the basic starting cap is actually 30. But how do I increase the level cap? That's pretty easy. It's all done with character shards and transcending. Now if we click on transcending, you'll see I have 4 out of 12 character shards and a shed ton of money to spend it. Now, to start with, it'll only cost 2 character shards for the legendary and 3 for every other character, and then it will ramp up and increase. I can't tell the exact increase on exponentials because they always change. And of course, the gold increases a lot, but don't worry, it's definitely worth it. Especially when every 5 levels that you manage to get your character up max, so this is level 40, you can increase your ability score by an extra 1. So if we actually go to our heroes, and I go to my enhanced skill, As you can see, at level 40, Rudy has 9 on his levels for his skills, but my Shay, who's only level 38, can only have access to level 8. And the increase in skills is a lot. Like, you can see the difference, especially with certain attacks. Like 654 to 696 is a large increase for one level. Another way to increase your character's stats is through potential, which is this lovely bit here. As you can see, my lovely test subject, Rudy, he is just beautiful. Is displaying 2 varieties of elixir due to the level increase in each. Now, you start with the basic purple ones, which is the basic elixirs. And for every 5 levels you scale up, it will go to green, and then finally to blue. With my Shay, as you can see, I'm still only running on greens, because I'm almost here, but I'm only level 8. Don't worry about this though, you can farm it later on in the dungeons, and each of these potencies is separate to each character, so you can level each up character each time. The next way to do it is through Divinity and Mastery. Now, they're a bit different because they're account wide and they boost separately. So Divinity is all through essentially runes, and each stat in the game you can then increase slowly. It requires runes and they build up. As you can see, I'm level 2s and 3s because I haven't finished. But it basically circles around. So you'd start off with the attack stat, then it would go to defense, then HP, etc., and then go down to crit damage. So if you can farm these runes and everything, even better. It's a account-wide increase. And of course, Mastery is it reflects your account level, and will again boost your entire account with stat increases and granting access to the other accessories that we talked about. So at level 20 you get the necklace, and level 30 you get the ring. Now you can see my account level is actually only 27, and I was a bit cheeky, so I spent a bit of these lovely rubies up here to buy the ring early, because I'm running through the arena a little bit fast. Now, the next question you're probably asking is, where can I farm all these lovely things? And honestly, it's just dungeons, which are great. You have the 4 dungeons, which are gold. You've got Soulstone Quarry. Now, this one I'm going to talk about a bit later, a bit more in depth in a minute. You've got the Elixir Refinery, which you can get the elixirs from. You have the Rune Temple for your divinities, and you have the Experience Run, which gives you XP potions, just to help you boost up a little bit more for the speed leveling. Now, the thing here is, each and every tier has a difficulty up, and more difficulty, the better rewards you get. It's great. Sadly, with this Soulstone, is to get the character shards, you need to get Soulstones from here. Once you get the Soulstones, you can then exchange it in the shop for more items, and then buy the Soulstones. Unfortunately, it takes a bit of time, and only tiers 3, I believe 3 and up, give you the legendary Soulstones to be able to exchange, and it's going to take you quite a while, maybe a week, to get your first couple. But don't worry, there is another way. The more you do your raids and your dungeons, you get proficiency in your character, and as that levels up, it gives you rewards such as character shards and rubies. So you can still level up, so the more you use it, the more you get powered. Now, as I said, these are all great, and don't forget, each time you've done the raid and dungeon, to come back in and collect your reward, so you'll get a main reward on top of it, and then you'll also have a completion buff to help you with the next arena, which is great. So now we're going on to raids. Raids are great. You can do them each day. It's great, and you'll have a lot of different options. Obviously, these will be where you get most of your equipment, especially for the main rewards, along with crafting gear and the books we talked about for your formations. Again, each level goes more higher, and the more you unlock, the more you can get in larger raids. Especially with the tier 6 and 7, they're hell, but they're definitely worth it. Again, come back here afterwards to get your completion bonus and the equipment item. So now we're going to the shop. The shop is another great place. We'll come back to these later. But you come to the shop. And do you remember the Soulstones we talked about? Well, if we go with this beautiful bunny girl here and go down to Soulstones, as you can see, I have absolutely no rare and no legendary because I already spent them today, as you can see on Shane. Now, the rares usually cost 8 each, which is why I haven't got enough, and unfortunately the legendaries actually cost 20 each. So it'll take you a good maybe 4 or 5 days to get the first lot, and then you can get more each time you go up the tiers, so it's not too bad. Now, continuing with the shop, there is also the summon shop. Let's get out of here and go to the summon shop. Now, Ethelno is great. The pet summon is basic, the equipment summon is basic, but the hero summon, you've got to be careful because there's actually 3 different types of summon. Now, there's the premium summon, which is this one, which is teasing me with Netris Disciple Shane, the one I want, which takes a special kind of item. Unfortunately, I don't have any. You're not really going to get any unless you're buying a load or if you're getting very lucky on certain events. You have the special banner, which is our basic banner. I would not recommend going on this until you've pulled for the rest of them. And then the rate up banner is the specialized banner. This is great for if you want to get one of the 2 characters that you're shown. So if you chose Rudy, you're more likely to get Rudy. If you chose Ice Spike Tyrant, you're most likely to get Ice Spike. Honestly, both of them are really good right now. And there are so many ways to get the rubies, to get quick summons, to get 10-time summons through events, traveling through the story, and doing achievements. So don't worry about not having enough. You can save up, you can get a load, it's easy enough. Now, continuing on with the shops, we have our lovely mole. This mole is super important. As you can see, he's got some lovely items here. He will sell a map, 100 maps for free each day. Up to 4 times, I believe. So always check back every maybe 4 or 5 hours and try and get the refresh, because these maps are invaluable. I'm lucky to always have a 30 map here for some reason. He also sells certain gear and sometimes legendary craft materials or even a legendary weapon or a piece of equipment. So if you get this, I'd recommend looking at it, understanding and buying it. It's usually about 1 million gold to 1.5 million depending on the item. Very worth it. Half my legendary items are from this guy here. He is amazing. I love him to bits. So going on from maps, we will now go to the actual exploration, and I'll talk to you all about it. So field exploration are basically, you choose an area. It will give you the recommended power. You can be a little bit under, a little bit over. It's fine, as long as it's not one of these 3 purples. Now these 3 purples are very, very special because they're advanced maps, which you get from doing normal maps. So if we went into here, of course 30 each time, and essentially you will be running through on auto. You'll be able to choose your formation and things, like here, your pet, and each area has a different main reward. Now the main rewards you usually only get from killing the boss, which is a random chance, but each time you clear a wave or a map, the chance to see him appearing will increase. So at the bottom you'll see 6%, 12% increasing, yada yada yada. And upon killing the boss you will get a main reward, which is lovely, especially if you're looking for the rare earrings for the damage dealt. Also, during this time, each map you complete will give you a tier progress reward, which increases with gold, 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 and also rubies. So there's always a free-to-play way to get more rubies. So don't worry about it, free-to-play, you're still being looked after here. So next we're going to actually go to the arena and Celestial Tower. We're going to start with the arena. To also say the raids, it's your usual stuff. You get lovely gear, each tier. The only thing I want to say about raids is the tiers increase after you've done more dungeon and solo raids. So you'll need to be higher raids to get into the 8-man raids. So the arena. Now the arena has 2 modes. It's normal and competitive. Competitive, you fight within your own rank bracket and you get to choose who you fight. So if I go into here now, I could choose to fight Scorpion or Zego. I probably won't fight Zego because it looks scary. It looks almost like my team, which is very daunting, as you can see. You can also see their attack power and their overall rank. Now, the funny thing about this is the competitive isn't really competitive. The normal is the competitive. Because unfortunately, all of you players will have to at some point start the PvP. Because it's the only way to get the final piece of equipment, which is the belt. Now, the belt is amazing because it's the only piece of equipment that gives you flat stats and also added other things. As you can see, I'm in Challenger, so I get great attack and HP, a little bit defense, but you also get extra stats like the increase your skill level by 1. There's also up to level 4 and increase your passive. Now, these are invaluable, and they're always given at the end of each arena section. And you'll get a belt corresponding to each of your ranks. So if you go to obtain rewards, shouldn't be there at the moment. So if we go to here, As you can see, if you ever get to champion, the belt gives you attack, defense, all skill levels by 4. It's insane. And I do believe the belts sometimes change, as if we went down to Grand, it'll give you a passive skill level increase. See, I find Grand is actually the better of the two out of Grand and Superior. There we go. Superior is definitely the best. I don't know why they've dropped it a little bit for Legend, but if you ever get to Superior, you are set for life. Now, the final bit here is, again, this is all automatic, so you won't be able to move your characters, so make sure you're set with your formation, your characters, and your pet. The pet will auto-activate once it gets to a certain threshold of your overall team HP. So it's why I'm using the invincibility one, because it gives me an extra 2 seconds of not dying horribly to my DPS enemies. The final place you want to go to is now the Celestial Tower. This, I cannot stress enough, you have to do daily. Don't worry about the power recommendation. You can always go up to at least floor 10 with a lower team. After that, it takes a bit more tactics. It gives you great rewards. There's also a achievement to get to level 25, which is all the way up here, which I can't even see. There we go. Level 25, which isn't too bad. It's 70,000, so like, I can do that quite now. I can do that quite easily. And you get some lovely summons, you get loads of rubies, it's great for your account, and you get a lot of equipment. Again, only use single battle. If you clear floors automatically, it doesn't actually increase the floor, it only clears the same floor you've just done. But yes, best of luck in the arena, and definitely go into this. So now that you're a lovely 7 Nights 2 Pro, I hope that you can go out there, kick ass, and chew bubblegum. Just make sure you're out of gum. Remember to subscribe, follow, and click that little bell in the bottom right to let me know in the next one, and follow up on my next guide, which should be coming out in the next few days. So stay prepped and stay well. And we're going to go die to a 1.3 million character. Until next time, stay awesome.